I had a pseudo relapse. It really stunk. And it really scared me. And I want to do a video about it. I've been living well with my MS for over 18 years. And most of the time, my symptoms are really manageable. But recently, I had a bad pseudo relapse that was kind of a wake-up call for me. Today, I'm going to share what a pseudo relapse is, what brought on this relapse and how it affected me, and things that we can do to help prevent them and how to bounce back from them when they do happen. According to this article by MS Focus magazine that I will link below, a pseudo relapse is the increased severity of an old neurological symptom. They can be triggered by fatigue, dehydration, stress, or illness. They typically last 24 to 48 hours and don't typically require treatment. Once the trigger is identified and taken care of, the symptoms usually resolve. About 3 weeks ago, I had a colonoscopy scheduled. The previous one was 7 years ago, and I don't do well with the prep. My body has a very intense reaction to the liquid that we need to drink to clean out our systems. Like many people with MS, my bladder and bowel control are not great and not as good as they used to be. So the addition of the prep liquid just made it worse. I'm not going to go into graphic details, but I spent most of the night awake and on the toilet or cleaning up messes. It was physically and emotionally stressful for me. My Fitbit recorded that I got a total of 59 minutes of sleep that night. And that's when it all started. I started having spasms in my left leg and pain in my leg and my back and my backside. And I assumed it was from sitting on the porcelain throne for so many hours. The day of the procedure, everything went fine. Cancer screenings are very important, so please do not skip screenings, okay? When I got home, I was a zombie. I was overtired and weak from lack of food. For those who've not had a colonoscopy, they ask you to stop eating solid foods the day before the prep and only consume clear liquids. And a few days prior to that, I had changed my diet. I changed from my regular whole food plant-based high fiber diet to a lower fiber plant-based diet. I was eating things like white rice and pasta, white pasta, and white potatoes and vegetables that were really overcooked, overboiled. And I think that contributed to it too. The day before the procedure, they recommend that you drink things like ginger ale and apple juice and eat Italian ice. And I needed some calories, so that's what I did. And those are mostly sugar. And I don't typically eat sugar. And sugar is really inflammatory. So I think this contributed to my pseudo relapse as well, along with the lack of sleep. Sleep is so important to us. I try to get 7 to 8 hours every night. So I didn't eat the foods that I typically eat. I ate foods loaded with sugar. I didn't get any sleep. I was really stressed. There was lots of stress hormones coursing through my body. And it made my symptoms flare. What happened was I got a lot of weakness on the left side and some spasms and lots of fatigue. By the end of the day, I was just completely wiped out every day for days on end. And the cog fog. I can laugh about it now, but it was pretty frightening. I couldn't think of day-to-day words. I was bringing my plants in from the deck because it's getting colder and they winter inside. And the little plates we put underneath to protect our furniture, I couldn't think of the word. I kept saying plant coasters. I need the plant coasters, and that's not right. It's saucers. I couldn't think of the word saucers. And I was talking about manatees, and I couldn't think of the word manatee. So I said ocean cows, those cows that swim in the sea. We should come up with a dictionary of all the made-up words and terms that we use when we have cog fog. What are some of yours? Let me know in the comments below. But when I was doing yoga, I couldn't do the poses that I usually do, like the boat pose. I couldn't hold my left leg up. I had to use my right foot to kind of prop up my left leg. And when lifting weights, I couldn't do as many reps with my left hand. In Zumba class, we do a song with light weights. It's all upper body. And we do a lot of these lifting of weights. And my left arm couldn't do as many. And it was scary. It was a reminder that things like this can happen. And you never know when the next relapse is around the corner. I called my neurologist after a couple of days, and she got me in the next day, and we had a nice talk, and she was pretty certain it was a pseudo relapse because it was a recurrence of old symptoms. They weren't new symptoms, and that's very typical with a pseudo relapse. It's usually just old symptoms flaring. But I had an MRI scheduled, and the MRI came back good. No new lesions, so yay, it was not a relapse. And no new disease activity, but still frightening. I think one of the scariest parts of having MS is losing my cognitive abilities, and that really scared me a lot. So what did I do to get better? I got back on my diet, and I continued with my exercise, and I got back into my regular sleeping pattern and used mindfulness and meditation to get rid of the stress. I also think that dehydration contributed to this as well. Even though I was drinking the apple juice and the ginger ale, the prep really cleans you out. So I think I may have been dehydrated as well. So some of the things that we can do to avoid relapses is avoid our triggers. If we know heat causes us to have relapses, avoid the heat and stay hydrated and rest and eat the best foods we can find and sleep as well as we can. When I think about it, I actually do have pseudo relapses quite frequently. I dance in Zumba class twice a week. And when I'm dancing, my body temperature goes up. And I get pain in the bottom of my foot, and I can sometimes get spasms. And that's a pseudo relapse. And some of the things that I do to help avoid that is I wear my cooling vest when I go to class, and I sip ice cold water throughout class to try to keep my body temperature from getting too high. And I know it's going to go away. So I know when I cool down that the symptoms will abate and I'll feel better. In the summertime, I can have pseudo relapses as well with the heat. So I make sure that I stay hydrated and I stay in the shade, or I try to stay in air conditioning on the really hot days. Do you experience pseudo relapses? And if you do, what do you do to help when you've had them? And what do you do to help avoid triggering them? Let me know in the comments below. I love the community that we're building here. And I would love to see a bunch of tips where we can all share and support one another. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy content like this, please do me the favor of sharing this video, liking, and subscribing. To see more on living well with MS or chronic illness, watch these videos next. And until next time, be well.